The following program is brought to you by FanBags Cornhole, Chicago's official supplier of professional cornhole boards and bags. Choose from any of their officially licensed designs or have my boy Brian design a custom set using anything from a selfie to your company's logo. Visit www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS to get 10% off your entire order. That's www.fanbagscornhole.com and use promo code BRAGS for 10% off. Step up your game with FanBags Cornhole.
It's Zach Eady with Purdue men's basketball, and you're watching Boilers in the Stands.
Welcome back to Boilers in the Stands. I am your host, Joe Jackson. Joining me is Ben Kolodzinski from ISC Purdue, filling in for a little bit while Kraig does post-game stuff and Braggs is off doing. He has dad duties today, so can't fault him there for having to miss this one. Purdue gets a
daddy-daughter dance for him today.
Yeah,
so
daddy-daughter dance.
He's doing the right thing.
100%. So Purdue gets a 79-59 win over Indiana. And per the broadcast, this is the first time since 1933 that Purdue won both IU matchups by 20-plus points. This is a game that Purdue won by 20, but the last 8 minutes, they didn't care. They were literally just messing. Like, I've never – usually with painter teams, right, you have – even when you're up 20, 30, it's still play within your system, do your stuff, execute well. Purdue was just messing around for the final 8 minutes, and it was wild to see. And we'll go through – all the key points and stuff. And we appreciate everybody tuning in. If you are enjoying our stuff, please hit the like and subscribe button, especially on YouTube. Just really helps us appreciate that. So before I kick it to you, Ben, I think I just want to throw out my one single key or big point from this game is that when you look at these two teams, I don't think Purdue had their A game today. It was a solid game. It wasn't their best. It wasn't. But when you look at these two teams, there's, I guess, two things that stand out. One is just Purdue is a team. Indiana does not seem like a team at all. Like always, it just seems like there's more 5 players playing on the court together. And then the other thing is almost every single possession for at least the first 35 minutes, Purdue had energy and Indiana did not. And right. We'll go into all the X's and O's and who played well and what happened and all that. But sometimes it's as simple as that. Purdue is a more cohesive unit, and they played harder. And sometimes that's all. Plus, that you're the more talented team, and that's going to get you wins. So, Ben, I'll throw it to you, kind of key points and just overall view from the game.
So, Purdue started a little bit slow, right? They 0 for 7 from 3. A little bit. I don't want to say lackadaisical. I just want to say, things weren't falling. Things weren't doing quite right on the offensive end at the beginning of the game. But what they did do was they kept playing good defense. They kept the game, they kept IU kind of, at arm's length. And then once the point total, the score total started growing, this was a completely different game. And there was a point here where it just appeared, like you said, that IU was – it just wasn't right. Something just seemed a little bit off. And I saw in the chat that I can't remember who said it, that Mike Woodson seemed disinterested. That was SOK Boiler. That's something that there were some IU writers that were sitting next to me. We were saying it does kind of seem like Mike Woodson looked a little disinterested, but that's not the story of this game. The story of this game was Purdue did what they do despite not having the best A game and their best shooting, and they still took care of business and won by 20 points.
Yeah, this is a game that Purdue is the better team. They're better literally like everywhere on the floor.
Right.
And, IU got off to a good start. They really did. They led for a couple minutes early on, and they were getting their stuff. But we've said time and time again, to beat Purdue, you have to play a near perfect game for 40 minutes. You can, Purdue can withstand a perfect game for 8 minutes from teams. They're talented enough that they can do it. They can withstand perfect game for 8 minutes while shooting like 0 for 7 from 3 or something like that.
Yeah, 0 for 7.
Yeah. So like this is a team that can just beat you in so many ways. And then the 3-point shooting did eventually fall. The 3-point shots did start falling for Purdue.
Right.
But yeah, just a really good team effort. I think there's lots of good contributions from everybody. Obviously highlighted by Edey and Smith, and Zach Edey 1 for 1 from 3 in Mackey. Well, in this game, but in Mackey Arena today. Like that was when the messing around just started. It was you saw Edey pop that first time and he didn't have it, and immediately went straight back to it and was like, "Give me the ball," banks it in, and like I'm sure we'll get a stat. I would be shocked if that was not the loudest Mackey has ever been. That was because it has to be, right?
I would imagine. Yeah. It takes a lot to get me to emote in press row, and that one got me. Okay. It even got some of the IU fans around me to kind of go, oh my goodness. So it was a special moment. And I think it's kind of a poetic justice type scenario that it banked in. It wasn't exactly the prettiest shot, but the thing is, if you watch Edey in warmups, if you watch him, I've seen some of these practice highlights, I've seen him hit 10, 15 threes in a row. So he can shoot them. But I just think, the seal is broken on those threes now. It wasn't pretty, but it just seemed poetic and almost perfect. But yeah, this place went wild when that happened. I haven't heard it that wild in a while, but also I got to give credit to Mackey Arena. As always, this place was raucous. They brought the intensity. You could tell from before the game even started, there were thousands upon thousands of people already out there waiting to get in lines. And you can hear maybe Coach Katie getting a tremendous applause here from the fans that are sticking around to see Coach Katie. This is really a magical night, and these are the types of nights that I love. Anytime that my Boilermakers can win fairly easily against IU in Mackey Arena, it's just chef's kiss. You got to love it.
Yep, this is especially after the first 5 minutes, in which obviously you're not too stressed in general. This was a pretty stress-free game.
Yeah.
Like I really at no point was even I thought like, oh, Purdue's going to let it slip. I think the best that Purdue was playing in that second half, Indiana was playing the second half, was those final 5 minutes. They started hitting a couple jumpers and stuff, and it didn't matter at that point. So yeah, we'll get into the actual kind of breakdown of the game, but I feel like there was just a lot of like, it's the rivalry game. Purdue absolutely handled them as they should. They're the far superior team this year, and they took care of business. We'll go to some of the stats real quick, or I guess actually no. Let's wait on the stats a little bit.
Okay,
Ben, we'll throw it to you. So we hit on the very, very broad key, but what within the game itself, what was some of the things that stood out to you the most?
This was kind of a Braden Smith alpha game. Okay, so you look at Zach Edey. Okay, he scores his 26 points or whatever it was, 26 points, and I think he had 13 rebounds. So that, that's a hell of a game. But this was really Braden Smith playing like his hair was on fire. And there was bad in there too, so it was good and bad, like he was just running around like a maniac. But I would say 75% of it was positive. And, he made a couple turnovers, but that's going to happen when you have the ball in your hands. But he was hunting his shot. He was taking it to the hole. He was doing everything he needed to do. And that's exactly what this team needs. Lance Jones was a little bit cold to start this game. So what did we do? We took it to the hole. It was a lot of creation from Braden Smith. And we just need to keep in mind, Braden Smith's only a sophomore. And he has this built-in hatred already for the IU rivalry. He really brought his A game today, and you gotta love what you saw from Braden Smith today.
Yeah, and I think it relates back to Edey too. Of Edey gets lots of touches early, gets wearing foul trouble, and so now when they run pick and roll, IU was just not hugging, basically hugging Edey on the roll, and so all that did was just open up a lane for Smith, and you saw Smith be aggressive, like you said. He had 15 first half points. I'm checking. Yeah, 15 first half points on 7 of 11 shooting. And in the moment where IU was scoring and IU was keeping up, Braden was absolutely the guy that was able to keep Purdue with it. And then at the end of the day, like IU just wasn't able to play that way for 40 minutes, and Purdue more or less was. No, just was, when you look back at the first IU game, right, he was 2 for 14, and I wonder if that had something to do with it too. And he just knew he's like, oh, people said I couldn't make shots or whatever, right. And so he's like, I'm going to. I think he just absolutely diced up this defense. Like, and for the most, he had a couple bad turnovers, 100%.
Sure,
but whatever in this game specifically. But I think there was a couple times too in the first half, especially when he made 3 or 4 buckets and IU's defense like kind of came to him. He didn't try to force. He just was like, okay, I'll feed it to Edey. I'll feed it to one of my shooters. And although the shots weren't falling at first, Braden's going to keep feeding him. This was, just an unreal night for him. 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and 2 turnovers in 36 minutes of play. He's once again showing why he's one of the best point guards in the entire country. He is one of the best point guards in the Big Ten. He's comfortably top 3 at this point, and I think you can make arguments for even higher. Sure. It was just great to see what he was able to do, especially in that first half where he just took control.
He absolutely did, and I want to be just clear with everyone. Looking at the comments both during the podcast and after the podcast, I've had people say that I am a too gassed up fan. I've had people say I'm too negative a Purdue fan. I just want to be clear. Let's not nitpick Braden Smith's 2 turnovers or whatever it was. It happens. Purdue beat IU by 20. It is a beautiful Saturday night, and you can't really ask for anything more. No need to nitpick, but again, with a team that's 21-2 now, 20. What are we at?
Oh, that's a good question. 22-2?
22 and whatever we are. 2 losses. 2 losses in mid-February. You can't ask for anything better, but that's why we get paid the big bucks here, the bucks here, to talk about some of the negatives. But when there's almost exclusive positives, it's a good position to be in.
Yeah, and there are a few negatives, and we'll hit on them later in the show. I don't want to start with that though. This was a game. Braden took control. I feel like we got to go to Edey next, just as we kind of cycle through. 26 points, 13 rebounds. I'll throw up his stat line real quick for everybody to look at. That is on audio. 26 points, 13 rebounds, 6 of them offensive, 4 assists, 2 blocks, a steal. Like, it's just, another day at the office for Edey. 11 for 16 from the free throw line and 1 for 1 from 3. This was a game where IU just didn't have an answer. Their only answer sort of was where. And even then, I'm not I think I've made it fairly clear that I'm not a big ref guy. I think a lot of the ref talk is, should there be fouls and stuff? Sometimes it is fair. A lot of times I think it's just kind of useless, but I will say that first half, that first 10 minutes, where fouled Edey on every single post up, like every single one. And you could see it from here. And Edey's just going to keep fighting through. He ends 7 for 15, wasn't his most efficient night. But 26 points, 13 rebounds. He anchored the defense too. And once Ware especially got out of the game, I think that was big in that first half. Is that first 8-minute stretch or whatever that IU was scoring? They did a really good job of, they used Ware and just in awkward spots where Edey couldn't really help at the rim. Right. And like the one time Renew posts up on the block and it's Ware that's right there, like on the strong side wing. And so Edey's never in that spot. He didn't really know what to do. Does he double? Does he stay? So I think they did a good job there. But then once he gets in foul trouble, Payne Sparks, the backup big for IU, like Edey just started going to work. And then defensively, that's when he could really just anchor the defense at the rim, turn IU into more of a jump shooting team. And they're just not, IU's not capable right now of winning, having to hit jumpers consistently. They had some good looks off a pick and roll. That'll be one of the negatives we'll talk about in a little bit. But as I stray kind of away from Edey, we'll bring it back. What were your thoughts on Edey on 26, 13, 4 assists, 2 blocks of steal into 3? What were your thoughts?
I mean, day in, day out, the ho-hum Zach Edey experience, right? So, and I mean that in the most endearing way possible. My tongue is firmly in cheek when I say that because he's just incredible. I will say this, like you said, and we're not going to get too much into the negatives, but there was was a pick and roll and give and go type back cut type of stuff as well that gave him a little bit of fits early in the game. The lobs, the alley oops to Kalel Ware. So it wasn't an infallible victory, for his individual play. But what more can you ask for? Like you said, they were climbing on him again. They climb on him every single game, and something's got to give at some point. But the bottom line is, after kind of racking up some of these fouls, and Trey Kaufman-Renn had a part to do with that too in the early second half. We'll talk about that. But he started kind of getting back into his free throw rhythm a little bit. He did struggle early in this game, but I think he went on a stretch of, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 in a row where we're like, okay, he's back where he needs to be. But it looked really good, and I got to be impressed with what he did.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, we could spend 20 minutes on Edey every game.
Sure.
And it's just like, I feel like I take for granted for Purdue's offense when I'm watching, of just like, one, their ability to get Edey the ball. Like that's not common across college basketball. Like,
right.
Not like he would be good wherever he went. He would end up being good. It's not a guarantee that he'd be as dominant as he is here, just because Purdue is able to get him the ball every time. Like there is skill to post-entry passing, and Purdue runs such good sets getting him the ball. But like, then it's also just a luxury that they can literally throw him the ball if they need to every possession. That first 6-7 minutes, Edey was touching the ball basically every single possession, and then IU had to switch their defense because of foul trouble, and then Braden Smith takes over. And then once Braden cooled off a little bit in the second half, Edey gets going, TKR gets going, and now jumpers start going, and you can just go on and on how this team can score the ball. Like it is a really, really, really good offense to watch. Our guy Tonsoni over at Assembly Calls, talking with him pregame, is just even he's an IU fan, just loves watching Purdue's offense movement, right? And
right.
He's the coach, so he obviously understands. He loves that part too, and just can understand that. But like, it is constant motion from basically 4 players, and defenses have to be on point always.
Right.
It is rare that offenses, like a key right now, it is spacing. Is today's basketball, you want spacing. Purdue spaces the floor well with a 7'4" guy that operates primarily block to block.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right,
just the stuff that they do, it's unreal. So it's crazy. It's so much fun to watch, and we are very fortunate that we get to watch it.
We really are. And speaking of Tonsoni, I did sit next to him here in press row, and he could not be more complimentary of the Purdue program. And he said all of this under the veil of, I am an absolute, or I'm quoting him or pseudo quoting him, I am an IU fan, and I adore what Purdue's doing. It was essentially that sort of stuff. You can tell that Tonsoni really knows basketball. He was a coach. He does the Delphi bracketology. He is involved with a lot of college basketball, and he knows what he's doing. And I really got to give him credit. We all have friends that are IU fans and things like that. Tonsoni is one of the best out there. So you can give him a Twitter follow. I follow Delphi bracketology and Assembly Call and everything that he does, because he's great. And he was a pleasure to sit next to and just kind of talk basketball, shoot the shit a little bit. But he was very complimentary of the motion, and like you said, kind of not nitpicking, very what's the word I'm looking for? Looking, he was kind of like, I guess just say nitpicking the IU defense. He was critical of IU's defense and how they were fouling. It's not like I speak professionally for a living or anything like that. So I lost my words there. It's late. It's past my bedtime, but
there you go.
But he was saying, they got to be smart playing in that post against Zach Edey. He is so much of a load. You got to be smart. And Tonsoni knew exactly what was going on, and we all kind of saw it. Like you said, there was a lot of fouls that were not getting called, but that's par for the course around here.
Yeah, there is pause for a sec because Edey came out and there's a big applause. Like the formula right now for defenses is you have to be physical with Edey, but there's a line between physical and fouling,
right?
And defenses right now have to be basically on that line, almost just like slightly over, and make refs call it.
Sure.
And that's how Reed did a pretty good job a few games ago with Michigan. You saw Rutgers do a pretty good job with it, and teams just, when they slow Edey down, that is going to be the big reason why. Mad Sis says smash like or Edie will dunk on you. That's what I've heard, or he'll bank in a 3 over you. Both might be options, so definitely hit that like button. Appreciate Mad Sis tuning in. So we've gone through a couple of the players. Let's go through the rest of the actual team stats because I said we do it later, and then I kind of just skipped it because I'm hosting, and that's how it goes. Purdue wins 79-59. They shoot 25 for 59 from or overall, and then 8 of 21 from 3. Poor shooting in the first half, but get it going in the second half. 21 of 33 from the free throw line. Not the best performance, and something that's been becoming a little bit more worrisome for me is the free throw shooting. But on IU's side, 59 points, 23 of 55 shooting, 4 of 16 from 3, and 3 of those, I believe, came in garbage time. Purdue wins rebounding 46-31, including 15-5 on the offensive glass. Purdue, like I said, more energy, more hustle, and just better down low. Turnovers, IU 12 compared to only 9 for Purdue. That was one of our keys, was just like IU's not a defense that's going to force a ton of turnovers, but at the same time, they're going to pressure, and they have guards that can do it. So Purdue, 9 turnovers is great there. Points in the paint, 30-28 for Purdue. 15 assists for IU, 12 for Purdue, 10 steals for Purdue compared to 5 for IU. I think that sums it up probably for the team stats. IU's 9 of 15 from the free throw line as well, so they didn't shoot great there either. Anything stand out to you, Ben, from the stat line or anything like that?
Well, just God's honest truth, this is what Purdue should do to a team like IU. They should be, kind of well in hand in a lot of the statistical categories, and they did it today. There's really not much more to add than Purdue is a more gifted, a more superior team than the IU Hoosiers are. They take care of business, and that's the bottom line for this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think the turnover stands out to me, like only having 9. That's just huge in a game where you don't want to give IU any easy points. Right. That was happened right at the end of the first half. Right, it was or I don't know what that was. The
last 30 seconds of the first half.
Yeah, I don't know if that Colvin shot probably should have been a shot clock violation and no run out, but either way, it's a turnover, and IU's able to cut it to 12 instead of it being like a 14-point lead. And so just being able to take care of the ball, and then even when Purdue didn't shoot great, it felt like they were getting good shots pretty much whenever they wanted. And 8 for 21 from 3 in the first half, they were 3 of 13, so 5 of 8 in the second half, able to start knocking things down. I think he summed it up, and that's going to be the summary for the show is Purdue's just a better team, and they played like it. And sometimes that's all it takes.
We got Lance Jones. There's probably 500 people here, and Lance Jones is leading them in cheers and pumping them up. You got to give Lance Jones credit, man. This guy loves Purdue, and we love him because he loves Purdue. He's encapsulated the Boilermaker spirit for sure.
Yeah, let's go to him. I think we're going to start with the technical and then flow into everything else. I don't know for sure, but my understanding is he got a technical for basically inciting an IU sucks chant. Which, if that's not Purdue, if that isn't the most Purdue Boilermaker thing, then I don't know what is. Lance Jones is and will forever be a Purdue Boilermaker, and there is no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, he in his short time here, he's earned that. Now, I am not a big fan of the IU sucks chant. It is what it is. It's a little juvenile, but I tell you what, there was a lot worse things that could have been done if. Than waving the crowd on and encouraging them to chant something. But I will say this much. You got to admire the fact that right before that, he had taken a pretty heavy bump. That's what he got him to the free throw line. And Zach Edey got into it with some of the IU front court. And, the intensity, even in a game where they were up by 26, we got Derek Luchik in the chat saying IU sucks, Ben, which is fair. And then Jeremy Armstrong, who was my RA as a freshman, he is pointing out that I did say IU sucks when I was in college, so I can't deny that. So Jeremy's a good guy. Nice to hear from you again, Jeremy. But no, the bottom line is he's showing the intensity and the heart and love for this program, and even in an emotional situation up approximately 30 points, 26, 28, whatever it was at that point, you got to admire that they're not giving up and they're still fighting.
Yeah, and this wasn't a great Lance Jones game. A 1 for 7 overall, 1 for 6 from 3, 2 turnovers, but it wasn't a great Lance Jones game. I think he was fine defensively, but there still just is something to that of he almost seems to embody kind of he's the guy that will wear his emotions on his sleeve. And I think Purdue rosters at times have lacked that type of guy, especially in a meaningful role like his. You need somebody that's not going to be afraid of anything. You need somebody that's willing to, I'm not advocating for getting technicals and stuff, but somebody that's willing to at least border that line and, talk to the other team and just really just give that confidence to the team. He can do that during a bad game like he had today, or not great game like he had today.
Right.
And that's huge. That really is huge. Offensively, I think it was just, one of those off nights. When we talk about Lance Jones and the Lance Jones experience, he was 1 for 6 from 3. That is part of the Lance Jones experience. You're going to get 5 for 6 from night. You're going to get 1 for 6 from 3 with some nights. So this was one of those nights. Luckily, it came in a game that it doesn't harm Purdue that much at all. Defensively, there was definitely a stretch in that second half where I thought he was very good on Galloway, when Galloway was really cooking. I think he really started getting physical, just kind of fighting through screens and being able to disrupt there. Other times, what IU was doing, and so I forgot my dry erase boards, but I will try to spell it out verbally as best as I can. So IU was running a lot of side pick and roll, so where it's on the wing, and what Purdue was doing was called icing. And so ice coverage when you're on defense means you're pushing the ball handler to the sideline. You're basically saying you cannot go middle. And so what Jones would do that to Galloway when Galloway was getting a screen, and what Galloway would do is he would use the screen and then just cut back to the middle, which is called snaking. And so I think there was times there. That's where Edey got in trouble too with some of the lobs and some of the rotations. Is Jones would get caught on those screens and not be able to catch up. But then I think in the second half he did adjust, and what he did, I think he started doing his work a bit earlier of staying a bit more connected on Galloway before he even got the ball. And so now he's really able just to kind of fight through and bump through and make life a little bit more difficult. What did Galloway end with today? Galloway, 10 points on 4 of 11 shooting, 7 assists. Right. So, he wasn't the most efficient shooting. He did facilitate the ball well. But yeah, Lance Jones, my overall thing for Lance today is he is a Boilermaker. And that is it.
Undeniable. He has encapsulated the heart of what a Boilermaker is, and we'll keep him. David Jenkins Jr. did it, as well the year prior. We've had John Octis. We've had a lot of these people come in and embrace our culture, and I'm really excited to have him here, and he provides a little bit of attitude that you see from someone like Mason Gillis, who plays with a lot of intensity, and who also was really clutch this game. He drilled a lot of threes in a short amount of time and really brought Mackey Arena into his feet. So, I'm not trying to segue away from Lance Jones at this point, but Mason Gillis was another one of those fiery players that we needed today to come up big.
Yeah, Mason Gillis, 9 points, 3 of 6 from 3, 5 rebounds. And honestly, I think we should just we can start with Gillis, but the 4 spot in general. Shan Cox said TKR and Gillis combined 16 points, 12 rebounds, 4 steals, 2 turnovers. And you look at both of them, like we often say that sometimes this 4 spot is the swing spot for Purdue. You need physicality, you need rebounding for sure from both of them. Right. No matter what they're doing offensively, you need energy and rebounding. And TKR has 7 rebounds, Gillis has 5 rebounds. And then TKR had that stretch in that second half to start where he's racking up fouls. He didn't hit his free throws, but racking up fouls. Now Renew ended up with 4 pretty quickly into the second half. Mm-hmm. That's a huge difference maker too. Gillis knocks down some big time threes, like you said. He hit a sidestep 3, which I looked was his first off the dribble 3 of the entire year. So that's really fun. Comes off a sidestep 3 as well there. Just a great game from both of the 4s. And so as there was another comment I wanted to bring up. There's also from Shan Cox. They said won by 20 points, and Lance and Fletcher combined for 2 field goals. And that's a lot because obviously Braden and Edey, like we already talked about, they went off, but you get really good production from this 4 spot. So I'll throw it to you. I don't know if you want to hit on Gillis, TKR, or both, but impressions from the 4 spot in general today.
I like to parrot kind of what Brian Newbert says in some of his reports and some of his things that he says. He says if you could combine Mason Gillis and Trey Kaufman-Renn into a singular player, you would have an entire roster filled with first-team All Big Ten players. because what TKR does is great in his way, and what Gillis does is great in his own way. And TKR today, early in that second half, there was concerted effort by Painter to feed him the ball. And something he saw some wrinkle, and you'd probably know it better than I did, because you're more of an intellectual type of guy when it comes to basketball. But I could at least see the action of, we're getting TKR the ball, and you saw the fouls mount up. He got a couple layups in there, which is fine. He got a lot of free throws, and he missed a lot of those free throws, let's be fair. But the bottom line is those fouls are very valuable in that circumstance, because who's the other front court player next to TKR is Zach Edey. And if you're racking up fouls on that front court, you're just kind of tenderizing the meat for Zach Edey to feast.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. There is just TKR and Gillis both provide such different strengths and good strengths. And I'm like, as I kind of think through, I feel like as I've thought back, there's a lot of games where they try getting TKR going early in the second half. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they just like the change of pace of teams are so prepped. Like, probably it's because Painter's like, or here, I'll put it this way. If you're an opposing team, right, and Edey has 12 points at half, probably one of the things you're going to be talking about at half is, how do we stop Zach Edey? And so then Painter just comes in and throws a curveball. It's like, hey, how about you try to stop TKR in the post now? And I think Painter also does a good job of feeding the hot hand. If TKR has a possession that he
Are we back? I think
somebody can hear me.
I think we're back here. There's been a little bit of internet issues here at Purdue. If someone could shoot us a message in the chat that we are still live, that'd be great.
Yeah, if somebody could say that. I'm just going to keep talking as if everybody's listening, and we'll see what happens.
I think we're losing you again here, Joe. They can hear me. Joe, can you hear me?
You? I can hear you.
I think we're both kind of going intermittently in and out.
Oh, tough. You go then.
What we'll go ahead and talk about here is some of that action here at the early part of the second half is with TKR. Matt Painter is playing some sort of chess, and like you said, it's a circumstance where we are in a position that, like in football, I am a football guy. If you can't tell by looking at my figure, I played football, but it's similar to selling out to stop the run in football. It opens you up to the pass. Selling out to stop Zach Edey opens up a Kaufman-Renn, or vice versa. So like you said, Joe, at halftime they go, hey, Zach Edey is just killing us. We got to figure out a way to double team. Well, where's that double going to come from? It's either going to come from the wing or the guard position, or it's going to come from another forward position, and that's going to leave easy opportunities if they don't recover well enough for TKR in the low block. And that's what we saw here early in the second half, and it racked up a lot of fouls. And the game was kind of in hand at that point, but it was a 12-point lead at half, and it stretched out to a 20-point lead in that first 5 minutes, and a big part of that was TKR.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, I don't know because I just ran the internet speed test, and the speed through the Ethernet is wild. I don't know why I'm buffering, so I do apologize for all of that. I caught the last part of your TKR, kind of the selling out for Edey and then being able to get it to TKR,
right?
And that's kind of this team in general. Is if you sell out down low, you're gonna give up open threes to what is Purdue now. Purdue is the 5th best 3-point shooting team in the country at 40%. So it's good. Who is there other players that we need to go to? Is there anything besides an individual player that stood out to you in this game that you kind of want to hit on that we haven't yet?
Not particularly, but I do want to give IU a little bit of credit here. So IU kept fighting, and they just kept coming, even though it was a very lopsided score, and there was a stretch towards the end where it kind of in mop-up time they scored quite a bit. But I believe it was CJ Gunn had an excellent game for him, and you could tell that he had 13 points and 3 assists and it was just in 20 minutes, but he's a player that hasn't contributed a ton this year. You can tell he's a tremendous athlete. He's still kind of getting his feet underneath him. I was really impressed with him, and I am really impressed with Malik Renew as well. I was talking with Tansoni about this. I would take Renew on my team any time of the year. He didn't have his greatest game today. He had 6 points, but he was in a lot of foul trouble. But he can face someone up. He can take them down low. He can hit the three. There is a lot of talent here on this IU team. I don't want to get into if their coach is utilizing things right. Now, this isn't the Harlem Globetrotters, the Dream Team, or anything like that. There are some obvious flaws in their team, but it says a lot for this defense to only give up 59 points to a Big Ten team in a rivalry game. So the defense really stood up against some players. And, I was just impressed with some of the highlights that IU had. That lob play to Khalil Ware is a tremendous play. They tried it about a half dozen times, and it worked about 5 of them. But you got to keep in mind that Purdue is causing a lot of that misfortune for IU as well. This is a team that steamrolled Ohio State in the second half last game. They were down by 20 and came back and won. That is a hard thing to do. And so IU was running high. They were running with a lot of momentum. Purdue took care of business, and you got to be really impressed with that.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is that early stretch when IU was getting some shots to go is Purdue was able to hang in, and they just had to weather that little bit of a storm on the IU's offense, and then from there, they dominate the game. Our guy Kraig is in presser right now. I assume he should be getting out pretty quick, but we over on our Twitter at Boilers and Stands. You should go follow us there, and more of like full-length clips are there. But a quote came in from Zach Edey, and this is from Zach Edey about Braden Smith. People count out his athleticism a lot, and he's a really good athlete. He's just short. And a little bit ironic coming from Zach Edey because, yeah, everybody's short. But no, Braden was excellent. And this is, I guess I'll go back to him for a sec. Sometimes Braden dominates with his jumper. What game was it? Well, the Wisconsin game, the first half where he just got to his jumper. Mm-hmm. He got to the rim. Yep. He got to the rim against a 7-footer, a 6'10" dude in Malik Renew who's very good. And so just being able to get downhill like that was great. We kind of keep rolling through some of these players. We got to probably mention Fletcher at this point. 5 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 for 3 from 3, which was an and 1-3. Wasn't his best game. No. I think he got targeted a bit defensively, wasn't able to knock down shots, and so and that's why you see as I pull up the rotation here, Fletcher only played 25 minutes. Painter went away from him a bit in that first half, especially. You have options. This was not a good game from Fletch, but at the end of the day, I don't know.
Right.
This is in a lot of the previews and stuff, we were saying Mbako is just a bad matchup, and that's who he's going to have to guard. If he's going to get targeted defensively, he's not going to be in the game unless he's going off from 3. Couldn't get the shot, and yeah, that's kind of all I have. It wasn't a good game. There's no other way to put it, and carry on.
But I wouldn't say it was a bad game. So here's the thing: there's only so many shots to go around, right? And you've got Zach Edey taking his share of shots. Then you also have an opportunity where Braden Smith is scoring nearly 20 points. Mason Gillis had his handful of shots. He almost was in double digits here. And then you had the Lance Jones experience, which was a couple shots here and there. Sometimes you just don't get the shots up, and you're not going to score, and that's okay. Because the bottom line is, and I have to every time I'm on the show, I'm going to keep reminding people this: Purdue won by 20 points today against IU. So just because it wasn't the greatest game for them, it is what it is. But I want to say this much. If I can change the subject a little bit here, it was really nice to see Miles Colvin get a little bit of run here, a little bit towards the end of the first half. He hit a 3 at one point, was excellent. And I don't know if you noticed this, Joe. He showed a really strong improvement defensively from what I saw. He was not quite getting as lost as he used to be once he was getting into this system. The problem with him is on ball, he can play pretty fair defense. It's the off ball defense, the help side. And I kind of, once he was in, I was paying attention to that, and he looked like he was in the right spot. Now, I say that as he got a foul called on him within 20 seconds of him entering the game. But it just seems like at least he's understanding the concepts, and he's getting a little bit of run here in a rivalry game. And he deserves more minutes, but there's a lot of talent and a lot of experience ahead of him. But he's earning his stripes here, and it's going to be interesting to see how he flourishes going forward.
Yeah, I think it's a tough spot for Colvin, and it's a tough spot because of people's expectations for him coming into the year. Right. I think if he was treated like a normal freshman, and I get that he's not exactly a normal freshman, especially for Purdue standards. So I'm not saying that. I think
we're losing Joe again. Yeah, I think we're losing Joe.
Can you hear me?
You're back. I was laying down ground cover for you to make sure you. But go ahead. You were saying if we were treating Colvin like a normal freshman, then
yeah. I just think like he's going to need time, like most freshmen do. He's going to be a fantastic player. You already see the highlights here. He's just in a tough spot that Lance Jones came in and is playing 35 minutes. That would be a lot of where he was at. Would be if Lance was more of this 15 maybe points per game guy or minutes per game guy. He is a 15 point per game guy at this point. 15 minutes per game guy that maybe we kind of more expected coming into the season. Then Colvin would have a bigger role. It's just tough when you have Braden that's going to play 36 plus minutes. You have Lance Jones that's going to play 30 plus minutes, and Lawyer's going to get at minimum 20 to 25, and some games Lawyer's going to get 35. There's just that combined with, Morton is going to come in for defense. And I think today, especially in that first half, Colvin got run because Lawyer was struggling, but also because Morton, IU was giving Edie single coverage, except for when Morton was in. They were doubling off of him every time. And so it's just a tough spot for him to get consistent minutes. You see the flashes, and that is great. There's the improvements needed defensively. Like you said, that very first play, he misses his backside rotation, but I agree too. There was some stuff in the second half, especially on ball. I thought he did a pretty good job for the most part on CJ Gunn, getting through some screens. And those are all the improvements that we want to see because we all know how talented he is and how good he's going to be. It's unfortunate that Purdue is if they're not the best team in the country, they are the consensus number 2 team in the country on a team that is has brought back a lot of minutes from last year. I'll find the exact. Purdue is 9th in the entire country out of 362 teams in minutes continuity per KenPom, and so they brought 71% of their minutes back from last year, 9th best in the country. Number. It's just tough for some guys to find minutes. That's why even like Heidi is what did Heidi get today? Heidi got 11 minutes. Like even him in certain years, he might have a bigger role.
Sure.
But it's also good that when Lawyer's struggling, when Morton's struggling, Colvin can come in and be that spark. And I still think at some point Purdue's going to come out flat for some game, and Colvin's going to come in the first half, drill like 3 threes and get Purdue going again.
Yeah, well, absolutely. He's a heater, right? He's that guy that comes off the bench and, when given the opportunity, can just start filling it up. You played Joe, and I played, middle school and early high school type stuff before I decided to concentrate more on football. It is impossible to come in and shoot hot while you're sitting on the bench for an hour.
Yep.
It's impossible. But he does it. And of course I'm saying, figuratively impossible, but he looked good. He's confident, and that's another player looking forward to the future, like Lance Jones right now. He's a confident ball player. He's got that a little bit of Carson Edwards in him. We'll see. That's high praise for a freshman to see. Those are big shoes to fill. But I'll say this much: he's exciting, and I know that his dad is a football legend here at Purdue and in the NFL. He's got that competitive spirit. And, is it disappointing that he may be in a position where the minutes aren't going to be there for him? Like you said, 71% of our minutes returned. That is a really tough nut to crack there. Oh, and also we have Lance Jones coming in. We have Cam Heidi, who's an excellent player. And Miles Colvin has to kind of fill in these extra positions, these extra minutes here. It's tough. But hopefully that continues to motivate him and say, hey, I need to work on X, Y, and Z to make sure that I'm getting these minutes next year.
Yep, 100%. And I'm going to quickly remind everybody, Purdue won by 20 over Indiana today. As our comment section is turning in, it just turns into a Lawyer versus Colvin thing always. And right. I'm going to be honest, I think it's really dumb. There are bad games from Lawyer. There's obviously stuff that Colvin needs to improve to get more consistent minutes. And I'm trusting Painter on that one. So sure. Yeah, we're going to leave it at that and move on. I'm surprised Kraig isn't back by this point. I know we were kind of waiting for him to try to get on. I'm going to text him real quick,
sure,
and see where he's at, see if he's wanting to come on. But before we do that, do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Michelle Rainey. And as I pull this up, sorry, lagging a little bit. So yeah, shout out to our sponsor, Michelle Rainey, Purdue graduate and Lafayette resident since 1999. Michelle Rainey has 10 years of full-time experience working with buyers, sellers, and real estate investors in Greater Lafayette and many surrounding areas. If you need to buy, sell, invest, or even relocate, call Michelle to schedule an appointment to see how she can help you accomplish the real estate goals you have. Your home or creating an investment.
I think we're losing Joe again here.
3,
Joe, 2. I think you're back, Joe. Can you hear me?
How much of that did you hear?
About 3/4 of it.
So if you need to buy, sell, invest, or even relocate, call Michelle. Am I out again?
No, you're good.
Okay. Have the experts with Rainey and Company at Keller Williams on your side and let Michelle navigate this process to make it easy. Call or text 765-532-3415. That is 765-532-3415. Do want to, appreciate them for helping sponsor the show, even as I cut in and out of their ad. Definitely, if you need real estate, go and give them a call. We're getting through a lot of this at this point, and waiting on a response from Kraig. Pull up the stats again here for Purdue specifically. As we kind of go through, is there anybody you want to hit on that we haven't hit on, or just anything from this game in general that you think we missed and you want to hit on, whether it be from the game, it be from the fans, or I don't know, the anything at all?
Yeah, just the bottom line for me is, I'm a religious guy, and I'm not going to bring religion into this, but there's always that. What do you imagine heaven is like? I imagine heaven is, sitting here in press row watching Purdue win by double digits against IU. Now, okay, obviously that's exaggeration, that's hyperbole, right? But the bottom line is, I love this type of situation. Anytime that you can just kind of have yes, they're winning easily against the rival IU. Anytime IU loses, in my opinion, is a fun circumstance. And when it's at the hands of the Boilermakers, it's even better. I have, I've got family who went to IU. Most of my immediate family are Purdue folks. I have some extended family, some in-laws and folks and their kids that have gone to IU or will go to IU. And I'm not a trash talker to them, but I do like to look back at days like this and be like, hey, Purdue's average margin of victory this year against IU is 20.5. It's always a nice thing to fall back on.
That's a very fun thing to be able to say. Yeah, and I think I'll talk about a little bit about the Big Ten as I know we're getting to the end of this show right here. This was a big week for Purdue in terms of the Big Ten race. Illinois and Wisconsin both lose. Wisconsin has now dropped 4 straight. They are now 8-5 in Big Ten and basically no chance at all. Illinois is 8-4 after dropping today against Michigan State in a really fun game to watch. So, Purdue still has the game at Illinois, so there is still that chance Illinois is not out of the running, and there is the game against Wisconsin at home still, but it's very much Purdue's race. Purdue is the best team in the Big Ten, and it is in a debate. There's nobody else in their tier. It is them and then the rest, and this week has been pretty big, for that as well. Right now, per KenPom, Purdue is projected to win the Big Ten by 4 games. I don't know how many times that's happened. If that does end up playing that way, it can't be many, if at all. I know 3 last year was a pretty big deal, and a very, very few teams have ever won it by 3. Just kind of shows where Purdue's at as this program. And we're getting closer to March, and that'll be where all of the topic of conversation rightfully goes to. But at the same time, yes, Purdue and Painter have to get over this March hump. There is no doubt about it. But enjoy this while it's happening.
Right.
This is not normal what Purdue's doing this year.
Yeah, let's not wish time away, because I'm getting older. Even though I got this baby face, I'm getting older. I've got kids in college and all that stuff, but never wish time away, because what you're witnessing in front of you right now is this is unprecedented in in our lifetimes. It's unprecedented in the history of Purdue basketball. How this season's going to end, I have no idea. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't look into the future, but I can say the last few years, Purdue has played a brand of basketball that I can be extremely, extremely proud of, and that we all can sit here and go, man, they've done it right for at least a couple years here. March Madness aside, and I know there's a segment of the fans that are just saying, hey, nothing matters until we get to March. I get it. I'm here going to say this matters. This matters. And, okay, in the history books, they're going to remember Purdue lost to a 16 seed last year. Great, whatever, but who knows what's going to happen this year and what different type of history could get written. We don't know. We just got to sit here. We have to enjoy it. We need to just take and breathe in everything that Zach Edey's been doing for us, and this, the seniors of this program, the coaching job that Matt Painter's been doing, and let's not get into these nasty, criminally online back and forth segments of who's better than who and who deserves playing time more than this person. We don't need that negativity. Sit here and enjoy what's going on in front of us, because this is something special, whether or not you want to acknowledge it.
Yeah, Boilermaker for Life on Twitter says golden time in Purdue basketball, and it is. This is, Derek Luchik says this is the most dominant Purdue has ever been, and they have, except for quite literally 2 games in March. And unfortunately, those are 2 of the biggest games or those are like the biggest games of the entire year when you're looking at the entire season. But it goes back to, I totally get people being critical of March, and I think it's fair, but at the same time, March isn't here yet, and you have to do whatever you can to prep yourself to that spot, and Purdue is taking care of that.
Right.
Got a comment from a Facebook user, said we need that 1 seed in the Midwest. We could, talking with Tonsoni, who does run Delphi Bracketology. I mean, he said it, and pretty much across the board, it's a lot would have to go wrong for Purdue in order for that 1 seed in the Midwest to not happen at this point. Their resume is the best in the country. Right. They are without a doubt a top 2 team talent-wise in the entire country, and very easily can make the argument for number 1. And then the other thing with that too is UConn is the only team right now that realistically could overtake Purdue for that number 1 overall seed. If they get it, they'll be going, I believe, probably to TD Garden in Boston. That's where their closest thing's going to be. So Purdue's then the 2 seed, and they'll still get the Detroit. So a lot of things that will have to go against Purdue in order to not have that this year.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind, Purdue's going to have to drop to a 3 seed if they lose the Indianapolis, Detroit pathway, at this point. I mean, to get to a 3 seed, my goodness, you're going to have to lose the majority of your games for the rest of the season. And I don't see that happening, and I don't want to be the guy that jinxes this, so nobody clip this if that was to happen. I don't want that on my soul, but to get a 3 seed, it's going to have to be a lot going wrong. And I think that Purdue has what it takes to, secure that 1 seed, if not for sure, glide into a 2 seed.
Yep. And it does look like, I think Craig's going to log on here pretty quick. Michael Hogg goes, Joe and Ben, I have to ask, is this a quad 2 win? I believe it's a quad 3. I
think it's a quad 3,
which
that's what I believe.
As Purdue fans, it's like, dang, that's a quad 3, only a quad 3 win, but it's also like a little funny that it's a quad 3 win. Like, truthful, it is a little bit. And look at that. We do have Kraig. I think we have Kraig.
We're getting him.
Throw him in.
He is.
He's not ready. He's not ready. That's on him. Kraig, we have a comments, and I've been saving it for when you got on, and then we'll get to the presser stuff after this, as me and Ben have pretty much got through everything from the game and all that. JB goes, does the 83 rank above or below the Octius dunk in IU game history?
No, I don't think it ranks above the Octius dunk. I mean, the thing about the Octius dunk is it was so unexpected. Like, that was not the guy that you expected to put IU on a poster in that game. So I think it just came out of nowhere. And then you have that just fantastic historical call of baptizing the masses and everything else. So yeah, I'm going to have to stick with the Octius dunk over Zach's 3, even though that was a special moment for sure.
So I was sitting next to Kraig here in press row, and I just about bit through my tongue after kind of jumping out of my seat. That was incredible to me. I've been wanting it for multiple years now. I just think it's so poetic that it happened against the Hoosiers, and you know, I just can't like that enough. That's all I got.
It's fair.
Yeah, Ben did not do a good job of remembering that he was on media row in that moment whatsoever.
I wasn't the only one.
You get a little bit of a pass during that.
I wasn't the only
one. At least
one.
a little bit. So, Kraig he was underneath at press conferences and stuff like that. So, Kraig, I'll throw it to you first about the press conferences. I mentioned the one clip of where Edie mentioned Braden Smith's athleticism and height in the same sentence. So I assume Braden and Edie were the ones that were there for players, but anything stand out to you from Painter? I assume Woodson got questions or either any of the Purdue players.
One of the things that Painter really focused on was just how much more physical our fours were against IU in this game than in the game down there. He felt like they weren't physical enough on box outs and just rebounding and making things difficult for them, even though they kind of bottled Renew up for most of the game down there until late also. But he just really referenced the fact that he thought TKR and Gillis both were way more physical from that standpoint. And that was something I put in my notes too. I thought especially in the second half, right out of the gate, TKR gave some really good defensive moments, was killer on the glass. And then obviously he, had his biggest offensive stretch right out of the gate too. And that was purposeful as well. They knew the foul trouble that IU's bigs were in. They felt like they would leave TKR one-on-one, and then Zach could be there to clean up the offensive glass because he's a little bit better at that than TKR, and they thought TKR could still take people on post moves down there. So it was very intentional to feed TKR the ball early and often to start that second half to try to put him in foul trouble. And if he made it, great. If he missed it, Zach was there to clean it up.
Yeah, that was one of the things we hit on was, TKR's. That was a really good stint from him in that second half. And we were kind of saying how it felt like it seemed like too recently where if TKR does get that hot hand, especially early in that second half when they try going to him, Painter's not afraid to just keep going, and he'll keep going to TKR for that entire stint that he's in, and draw fouls, make some hooks, give good energy, and TKR and Gillis both really high energy. That was also something we hit on for sure. Is anything else kind of stand out from the presser worth kind of talking about it all a little bit?
So apparently Zach's 3 was not planned by Coach Painter. He said when he was asked about it, he just said, they did that without my knowledge. And then he kind of made a joke that Zach missed it so bad that he made it. So it was a funny little moment in there from Painter in regards to that. I guess really the only other thing that jumped out, Smith and Painter both talked about it. Gillis was in there too, actually, by the way, after he had a really nice offensive second half. But really the other thing that stood out to me was Painter and Smith both talking about how IU was trying to keep the ball or keep Braden from getting to his right. So they were trying to force him left, but then Braden had 3 or 4 reads once he got there about what he wanted to do with the ball. And a lot of times he was able to kind of snake that back the other direction and still get to his right. And then once he did, the way that defense was set up, then everything was just wide open. And, he mentioned like the first time that he got all the way to the rim in the game, he was just like, where's everybody at? Nobody came over and got me. So he's like, I just kept going because the lane was there for me, and the importance of just reading what's there. And Painter always references in regards to that for Smith, that's like being a quarterback and going through your first read, your second read, go through your progressions, know what's there from a defensive standpoint, and just how good he is at making those reads in real time, making quick decisions. And, whether that's feeding the ball back to Zach on that pick and roll, whether that's pulling up and shooting that elbow jumper, or if they go under shooting the 3, or if Nobody stops him. Go ahead and go all the way to the rim. And he has every single one of those options in his bag. And he didn't have any trouble making layups today like he had in some of the other games. But 4 or 5 of those layups, there wasn't anybody within 2 feet of him. So
Right.
Yeah, it was really, really, really good game from him, especially that first half. And he just didn't force. He just took what was there and made the right play. So, yeah, shout out Braden. Really, really, really strong first half. Kraig,
strong game.
Yeah, just in general, for sure. 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals, which might be a career high. I'll fact check that as I throw it back to you, Kraig. As you know, me and Ben have gone through a lot. Is what kind of some of your key points and then we'll probably get out of here.
I mean, obviously the rebounding margin was huge. I think we were plus 10 on offensive rebounds. And because you go through there and you look, and the shooting percentage from total field goal percentage was basically identical. We shoot a little bit better from 3 than they do, maybe 7 or 8%. Well, maybe 10 percentage points by the end. But same field goal attempts, same percentage basically in terms of total field goals. And you go, okay, well, where'd those points come from? Well, they were plus 15 or 18 in free throws, I think, and they were plus 10 in offensive rebounds. So right there tells you a lot of the story of the game. I thought defensively, Purdue did really, really good things. They weren't hitting from outside, and Purdue did a really nice job of just making things difficult on Renew, who looked visibly frustrated at times. Ware got to that little lob a few times, and he had that pick and pop 3. Mbako, real early, they hunted him like in those first 4 or 5 plays to get a matchup and post up, and then Purdue was able to kind of do a nice job of not letting him get that switch that he wanted and kind of focusing on that. So I thought defensively they were really good. Obviously, IU just missed some wide open threes as well. But, I think the big picture thing for me is, in the end, Purdue ends up winning this game by 20. This could have been a 35-point game had Purdue not just kind of started messing around. I mean, they kind of, you could tell they were trying to just make some crazy plays to get the fans excited. And I mean, that alley-oop dunk to Zach was still like 5 feet out in the lane when Braden throws it. And obviously Zach's 3, but then there were some other little things in there too that maybe got a little bit cute at times, I guess, towards the end of that game. But I have never, in my entire life of watching Purdue IU, I cannot remember a single game for either one of these two teams where the other team was comfortable enough midway through the second half to just start screwing around. Like, I mean, they were just messing around and having fun, man. And there's still like 6-7 minutes left in the game, and there's just no worry whatsoever or thought in their mind whatsoever that IU had any chance of making this a game.
And that's where this team is. We have said it throughout the whole year. This team is just different than last year. This team has all the confidence in the world. A lot of it starting with Lance Jones, and I think it's spread. And I think they fully understand how insanely good they are this year. And so in a game like this, they know that they can mess around. I don't think you see that last year because it's just still trying to get comfortable and understand what they are. They know who they are 100% this year. So Ben, I don't know if you have anything to add on anything like that.
Nothing more to be said, man.
All right. Well, I'll throw it back to you, Kraig, one more time. Just, if you do have other stuff, we are a little bit over an hour. Still 200 plus 250 plus in here. We do appreciate that. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Kraig, you're good, you said, right?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to the Rutgers game at home next week. Rutgers is a little bit of a different team with Jeremiah Williams.
That'll be a bit of an issue because it is Minnesota next week. But
wait, when's Rutgers? When do we have Rutgers?
Following Thursday.
Oh, shoot. I was a week ahead of schedule. My bad.
Rutgers game will be fun, but next Thursday is Minnesota. I think that's an 8:30 tip. 8:30 tip on Big Ten Network. So we will obviously be here. We'll be live pretty much right after the show. Minnesota's a team that has some life. They have some juice this year. Not a game that Purdue can just assume they'll walk in and win, but at the same time they're better and should win. But we'll be here for that next Thursday. Yeah, so do appreciate everybody tuning in. We appreciate Ben once again filling in, being able just to help us out here and doing the show. Didn't put up the photo yet, was kind of saving it for the end, but we did have Braggs on daddy-daughter duty today at the daddy-daughter dance. So shout out Braggs, busy week for him covering the Super Bowl, and then obviously family comes first, so having to take care of stuff there. Ben, throw it to you. Just let everybody know where they can find you and all your work.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me again, guys. And Greg, beautiful picture with you and your daughter. That's fantastic. Hope you guys had a good time. You can catch me at ISC Purdue. It's ISC_PU, or my Twitter is at BRKOLO. I write weekly columns and articles. And if you're a Northwest Indiana region rat, I have a radio show and a couple television sports shows and that type of stuff. So, it just kind of a little passion project of mine is making sure my Boilers have some fairly snarky and sarcastic coverage. And I'm the guy for that. So thank you for having me again, guys. This has been a wonderful day.
Yeah, really appreciate you filling in once again. So definitely go give Ben a follow on Twitter and at where he does all of his work, and then at ISC_Purdue. You can follow Kraig on Twitter at KraigBowers34 and me on Twitter at JoeJacksonCBB. Follow Boilers in the Stands on Twitter at Boilers in Stands. We'll have, there's sometimes some post-game quotes. We have some keys to the game, live in-game updates, sometimes some graphics, just a little bit of everything. But it's also a place where you can find all of our links to our shows. We, are on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button on the way out. Helps us a ton. We've recently hit 2K subs, and just thank you to all of you for that. If you are listening on audio, we are on Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts. Give those a 5-star review and a good rating. So we do appreciate everybody. And really quick, just as a personal thank you, like this was my first game covering Purdue IU in person. It's my first real year covering Purdue in person like this too. But don't take these moments for granted. It is because you guys tune in and you listen to what we have to say. You put up with us for an hour. So genuinely, do appreciate everybody that tunes in and all the support. Always enjoy meeting you guys at Mackey or wherever. Just stopping by and saying hi. So wanted to throw that out there because it is a cool experience and one I don't take for granted. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We will be live Thursday against Minnesota, not Rutgers. 8:30 Eastern time tip, Big Ten Network. We'll be live here after. Thank you all for tuning in as Purdue gets another 20-point win over Indiana. Boiler up.